The hunt begins. The Kethvar hunting fleet emerged from the void like shadows given form, their biomechanical ships pulsing with bioluminescent veins that served as both navigation systems and intimidation displays. Commander Vexthul stood in the organic command chamber of his flagship Bloodseeker, his 4 muscular arms crossed behind his back as he studied the primitive solar system before them. This was going to be disappointing. The third planet from The star showed signs of technological development, but the energy signatures were laughably weak. No defensive grids, no weapon platforms, just a collection of small metal constructs orbiting their world like toys. The Kethvar had been hunting across the galaxy for 3,000 years, and this species appeared to be exactly what their advanced scouts had reported: soft, weak creatures ripe for harvesting. "Scan results complete, Hunt Commander," reported his second-in-command, Threxnall, her serpentine tail coiling with anticipation. "The prey species has achieved basic spaceflight but lacks any significant military infrastructure. Population approximately 8 billion. Protein yield calculations suggest this will provide sustenance for the entire fleet for multiple cycles." Vexthul's predatory grin revealed rows of diamond-hard teeth. Each one was a trophy from a different conquered species, and he had room for more. "Excellent. Deploy hunting protocols. Let us see how this prey responds to pressure." 63 million kilometers away, Dr. Marcus Webb was having what he would later describe as the worst day of his scientific career. The Deep Space Observatory had been tracking unusual gravitational anomalies for the past week, but nothing had prepared him for what appeared on his screens at 0347 hours, Earth Standard Time. 17 massive contacts, each roughly the size of a Manhattan city block, had appeared at the edge of the solar system. They weren't following any known orbital mechanics, and their energy signatures were unlike anything in the terrestrial database. More disturbing, they were clearly artificial and clearly not human. "Dr. Webb," called his research assistant, Jenny Kim, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "The objects are moving. Vector analysis suggests they're heading directly for Earth." Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead despite the climate-controlled environment. After 40 years of searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, he had always imagined first contact would be more diplomatic. "Alert Earth Defense Command immediately," he ordered. "And Jenny, encrypt everything. If these are hostile contacts, we need to assume they can intercept our communications." The Kethvar hunting doctrine was as efficient as it was brutal. Vexthul had perfected it across dozens of worlds, and the pattern never varied. First, demonstrate overwhelming superiority to induce panic. Second, allow some prey to escape and spread fear throughout the population. Third, systematically harvest the most nutritious specimens while the remainder cowered in their shelters. The asteroid mining station, Series 7, was selected for the demonstration. It housed only 43 humans, making it perfect for the opening. "Move." The station's crew detected the approaching Kethvar vessel too late to do anything, but broadcast a desperate distress signal. Vexthul watched with professional interest as his ship's bioplasma cannons reduced the mining facility to its component atoms in 2.3 seconds. The humans hadn't even attempted to fight back. Their evacuation pods scattered like frightened insects, exactly as predicted. "Primitive," Threxnall observed. "They lack even basic defensive instincts." But Vexthul was studying the tactical display more carefully. Something about the human response pattern didn't match their psychological profiles. The evacuation had been too organized, too efficient. Most prey species panicked during first contact, making critical errors that cost additional lives. These humans had executed their emergency protocols with almost military precision. "Curious," he murmured. "Run behavioral analysis on the prey response." At Earth Defense Command headquarters in Colorado Springs, Commander Lisa Park was rapidly discovering that 30 years of military experience hadn't prepared her for this situation. The loss of Series 7 had been confirmed 12 minutes ago, and every screen in the command center displayed the horrifying reality. Earth was under attack by an unknown alien force. "Status report," she demanded, as she strode into the operations center. 17 hostile contacts maintaining position at system edge, reported Major Davidson from the tracking station. Based on the weapon signature that destroyed Series 7, we estimate each ship could level a major city with a single shot. Lisa studied the tactical display. Earth's defense fleet consisted of 12 aging patrol vessels and 3 experimental fighters. Against 17 city killers, conventional tactics would be suicide. What about the Luna shipyards? Any possibility of reinforcement? Negative, Commander. The new destroyers won't be operational for another 6 months. Lisa felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. In her career, she had faced impossible odds before, but never with stakes this high. However, one thing about the attack pattern troubled her. If the aliens possessed the firepower to destroy Earth from long range, why were they maintaining distance? Dr. Webb's team has requested priority access to analyze the wreckage from Series 7. Davidson continued. They believe the alien weapon signatures might reveal technological vulnerabilities. Granted, Lisa said immediately. Any information advantage could be critical. On board the Bloodseeker, Vexthul was reviewing the behavioral analysis with growing interest. The Kethvar had developed sophisticated psychological profiles for every species they hunted, and humans were displaying several anomalies. The prey species shows remarkable organization under stress, Threxnell reported. Emergency response. Protocols activated within 4.7 minutes of the attack. Evacuation efficiency rated at 94.7%. These metrics are unusual for a species classified as basic prey. Vexthul's predatory instincts were fully engaged now. In 3 millennia of hunting, he had learned to recognize when prey might provide an interesting challenge. Most species collapsed into chaos when faced with Kethvar superiority, but these humans were already adapting. Perhaps we have underestimated this species, he admitted. Initiate communication protocols. Let us see how they respond to direct contact. The transmission reached Earth 47 minutes later, broadcast simultaneously across every communication frequency on the planet. The message was brief and terrifying in its casual arrogance. Attention, inhabitants of the 3rd planet. I am Hunt Commander Vexthul of the Kethvar hunting fleet. Your species has been selected for harvesting. You have demonstrated adequate protein content and minimal defensive capability. Surrender will result in efficient processing. Resistance will result in prolonged suffering before inevitable processing. You have 1 rotation of your planet to submit. The transmission ended with a sound that made everyone who heard it physically nauseous. The recorded screams of the last species the Kethvar had hunted. In the Deep Space Observatory, Dr. Webb stared at his analysis screens with growing excitement, despite the dire circumstances. The alien transmission had provided a treasure trove of data about their technology, and the results were fascinating. Jenny, look at this frequency analysis, he called. The alien communication system operates on bioneural wavelengths. It's not electronic, it's organic. What does that mean for us? Jenny asked. It means their entire technological base is biological rather than mechanical. Ship systems, weapons, communications, everything is essentially a living organism, bred for specific functions. Marcus turned to face her, his expression grim but determined. And every biological system has weaknesses. Diseases, genetic flaws, environmental vulnerabilities. We might not be as helpless as they think. Commander Park reviewed the reports from Dr. Webb's team with a mixture of hope and desperation. The alien technology was indeed biological, but that knowledge alone wouldn't stop 17 city-killer ships. However, the analysis had revealed one potentially crucial detail. The alien communication system relied on bioneural networks that could theoretically be disrupted. Can we jam their communications? She asked the assembled staff. Possibly, replied Dr. Sarah Chen from the Technology Division. But we'd need to understand their bioneural frequency patterns better. The transmission data gives us a starting point, but we need more samples. How do we get more samples without getting ourselves killed? Dr. Webb raised his hand tentatively. Commander, there's something else. The weapon signatures from the Series 7 attack show energy patterns consistent with focused bioplasma. If the aliens are using living weapons, they might be vulnerable to biological countermeasures. Lisa felt a spark of hope. What kind of countermeasures? Viruses, toxic compounds, genetic disruptors, anything that could affect organic systems. It's speculative, but we might be able to fight biology with biology. On the Bloodseeker, Vexthul was experiencing something he hadn't felt in centuries: uncertainty. The human response to his ultimatum had been completely unexpected. Instead of panic or surrender, the prey species had gone silent. Their communication networks had ceased broadcasting, their ships had taken defensive positions, and their colonies had activated what appeared to be military protocols. Hunt Commander, Threxnall reported, the prey species is not responding according to standard behavioral models. No surrender transmissions detected. Instead, they appear to be preparing for combat. Vexthul studied the tactical displays showing human activity throughout their solar system. Mining ships were being retrofitted with weapon platforms. Civilian vessels were evacuating population centers. Most intriguingly, energy signatures suggested the humans were conducting intensive research on the wreckage from their destroyed station. Fascinating, he growled. This prey species shows adaptive intelligence. They are attempting to learn from our demonstration rather than simply flee. Should we proceed with standard harvesting protocols? Vexthul considered the question carefully. Standard protocols called for systematic destruction of infrastructure followed by population harvesting, but this species was displaying characteristics that suggested they might provide a more stimulating hunt than usual. Negative. We shall observe their preparations. If this prey species wishes to resist, we shall allow them the opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities before we crush them. Dr. Webb's team had been working without sleep for 36 hours when they made the breakthrough. Hidden within the alien transmission data were biological markers that revealed the true nature of Kethvar technology. Marcus, you need to see this, Jenny called from her workstation. I've been analyzing the bioneural frequency patterns and I found something incredible. The alien ships aren't just using biological technology. They are biological technology. The entire ship is a single massive organism. Marcus rushed to her station and studied the data. The implications were staggering. If the ships are living creatures, then they have the same vulnerabilities as any organism. They need to eat, they can get sick, they have genetic weaknesses. That's not the best part, Jenny continued, her eyes bright with exhaustion and excitement. The frequency analysis suggests that all their ships are genetically linked. They share a collective nervous system. If we could find a way to disrupt that system, we could affect their entire fleet simultaneously, Marcus finished. Jenny, this could be the key to fighting back. Commander Park received the report just as Earth's 48-hour deadline expired. The Kethvar had been silent since their ultimatum, but sensor readings showed they were moving closer to Earth. Whatever humanity was going to do, it had to be soon. Dr. Webb, explain this biological weapon concept in terms I can understand, she demanded during the emergency briefing. Commander, the alien ships are essentially space-going whales with weapons. They're connected by a bioneural network that allows them to coordinate as a single organism. If we can disrupt that network, we might be able to turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. What do you need? Access to our biological warfare research from the Antarctic facility, and permission to modify one of our defense platforms into a delivery system. Lisa didn't hesitate. You have whatever resources you need. How long? 18 hours, assuming the plan works at all. Outside Earth's atmosphere, the Kethvar hunting fleet began its final approach. Vexthul was pleased with the prey species. Preparations. They had demonstrated admirable resourcefulness and determination. It would make their eventual defeat all the more satisfying. But as his biosensors analyzed the electromagnetic spectrum around Earth, he detected something that gave him pause. The humans were broadcasting a signal on bioneural frequencies that shouldn't have been accessible to mechanical technology. Threxnall, he commanded, analyze that transmission. How are the prey species accessing bioneural channels? The analysis results arrived moments later, and for the first time in 3,000 years of hunting, Vexthul felt a chill of apprehension. The humans had not only deciphered Kethvar bioneural communication, they had learned to use it against them. The prey fights back. The revelation hit Vexthul like a physical blow. In 3 millennia of hunting across the galaxy, no prey species had ever demonstrated the ability to comprehend Kethvar bioneural technology, let alone actively use it. The implications were staggering and deeply troubling. Run a full spectrum analysis, he commanded Threxnol. I want to know exactly what these humans are transmitting. The results were worse than he had feared. The human signal wasn't just accessing bioneural frequencies. It was actively probing the collective consciousness that linked every Kethvar ship. These primitive creatures were somehow attempting to map their neural network. Hunt Commander. Threxnol's voice carried a note of uncertainty that hadn't been there before. The prey species has demonstrated capabilities that exceed their technological classification. Should we consider the possibility that our initial assessment was incorrect? Vexthul's forearms tensed with predatory instinct. In the ancient Kethvar language, there was a word, Zelethkru, that described prey so dangerous it could potentially become the hunter. No species had earned that designation in over 1,000 years, but these humans were displaying alarming characteristics. Maintain observation protocols, he decided. But prepare Hunting Party Alpha for immediate deployment. If these humans wish to demonstrate their capabilities, we shall give them the opportunity. Dr. Webb was running on coffee and determination as his team put the finishing touches on what they had dubbed Project Feedback. The concept was elegantly simple and potentially suicidal. Use the aliens' own bioneural network to deliver a genetic virus that would disrupt their collective consciousness. Status report on the viral payload, he called to Dr. Chen. We've successfully synthesized a retrovirus based on the bioneural samples from the alien transmission, she replied. Lab tests suggest it will cause severe disruption to organic neural networks. The problem is delivery. The modified defense platform is ready, reported Engineer Jackson from the fabrication bay. We've replaced the nuclear warhead with a biodispersal system, but we'll need to get within point-blank range of their ships to guarantee effective transmission. Marcus nodded grimly. Point-blank range meant suicide for the delivery crew, but if it could save Earth, the sacrifice would be worthwhile. Commander Park studied the tactical display in the operations center. The alien fleet had moved to high Earth orbit, and their intentions were becoming clear. Instead of the systematic bombardment everyone had expected, they were deploying smaller craft that appeared to be headed for major population centers. They're not planning to destroy us from orbit, she realized. They want to take us alive. Major Davidson looked up from his station. Commander, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with the aliens' bioplasma weapons, but they're configured for stunning rather than killing. It's like they're preparing for a harvest operation. The word harvest sent chills through everyone in the room. Intelligence reports from the alien transmission had suggested the Kethvar were predators in the most literal sense. They hunted other species for food. Deploy all available units, Lisa ordered. If they want a harvest, they're going to pay for every life they take. Vexthul watched the human military response with growing interest. Their primitive aircraft were rising to meet his hunting parties. And while they posed no real threat to Kethvar bioarmor, their tactics were surprisingly sophisticated. The humans weren't just attacking randomly, they were using coordinated strikes designed to disrupt his hunters' formation patterns. The prey species demonstrates advanced military doctrine, observed Threxnol. Their unit coordination suggests extensive combat experience despite their technological limitations. Indeed, Vexthul agreed. Most interesting. Signal hunting. Party Alpha. I want live specimens for analysis. These humans may provide more entertainment than initially anticipated. The battle over New York City became the first real test of human versus Kethvar capabilities. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos led Squadron 7 in what should have been a hopeless engagement against alien interceptors that outclassed her F-35s in every measurable category. But Maria had studied the alien attack patterns from the Series 7 incident, and she had noticed something important. The enemy craft moved in perfect synchronization like parts of a single organism. That coordination was their strength, but it might also be their weakness. All units, target the lead craft, she commanded. Concentrated fire on my mark. The squadron's missiles struck the alien interceptor simultaneously, overwhelming its bioarmor with sheer volume of ordnance. The craft didn't just explode, it convulsed like a wounded animal, and more importantly, the other alien vessels seemed to feel the impact. Their formation wavered as if experiencing sympathetic pain. Confirmed, Maria reported to command. Damaging one ship affects the others. They're linked somehow. Dr. Webb received the battlefield intelligence just as his team finished loading the viral payload into the modified defense platform. The confirmation that the alien ships shared a neural network vindicated their entire approach, but it also revealed a new possibility. Jenny, if they feel each other's pain, what happens if we amplify that sensation? You mean use their network connection to create a feedback loop? She paused, considering the implications. Marcus, that could work. If we can overload their neural network with conflicting signals, it might cause a complete system crash. How do we create conflicting signals? Jenny's eyes lit up with inspiration. We don't have to create them. We just have to amplify the natural background noise that already exists in any biological system. Every living creature produces neural static. If we can boost that static and feed it back through their network, they'll essentially give themselves a migraine so severe it shuts down their entire fleet, Marcus finished. Brilliant. How long to modify the payload? Give me 2 hours. Commander Park watched the battle report streaming in from around the globe. Humanity was losing, but they were losing more slowly than anyone had expected. More importantly, they were learning. Each engagement revealed new information about alien capabilities and weaknesses. Commander, Dr. Webb's voice came through the emergency channel. We've modified our countermeasure. Instead of just disrupting their network, we can potentially cause a complete neural cascade failure. But we need them to lower their guard. What do you mean? They have to think they're winning. If they're in defensive mode, their bio-neural shields will protect them from our attack. We need them to open their network for a coordinated assault. Lisa understood immediately. You want me to give them an irresistible target. The space elevator platform would be perfect. It's our most valuable infrastructure, and attacking it would require them to coordinate their entire fleet. Lisa closed her eyes. The space elevator represented humanity's greatest engineering achievement, and it housed nearly 50,000 people. But if sacrificing it could save Earth, do it, she said. Vexthul received the intelligence report about the human space elevator with considerable interest. The structure was indeed impressive for such a primitive species, and destroying it would effectively cripple their space-based operations. More importantly, the humans appeared to be concentrating their remaining military assets around the platform in a desperate last stand. Perfect, he growled. Signal all hunting parties. Converge on the space elevator. We shall crush their final resistance and demonstrate the futility of defying the Kethvar. Hunt Commander, Threxnall interjected. Tactical analysis suggests this could be a trap. The humans have demonstrated unexpected resourcefulness. Vexthul's predatory grin widened. Of course it's a trap. That's what makes it interesting. But they are still primitive creatures using crude chemical weapons against bioengineered perfection. Their trap will simply become their grave. As the Kethvar fleet converged on the space elevator, their bio-neural network opened fully to coordinate the massive assault. Every ship linked directly to every other ship, sharing targeting data, tactical information, and sensory input in real time. It was the apex of their evolutionary achievement, a collective consciousness that made them invincible. Dr. Webb watched the alien fleet formation on his displays and knew this was humanity's only chance. The modified defense platform had been positioned to look like a desperate last-ditch weapon aimed at the lead alien ship. In reality, it was a delivery system for the most sophisticated biological warfare agent ever created. Activation sequence initiated, reported Dr. Chen. Viral payload armed and ready for transmission. Remember, Marcus said quietly, we only get one shot at this. The moment they detect what we're doing, they'll shut down their network and we'll have lost our chance. Commander Park's voice came through the communication system. Dr. Webb, alien fleet is in position. All units are linked and preparing for coordinated strike. You have authorization to proceed. Marcus took a deep breath and activated the transmission sequence. The modified defense platform launched its payload directly into the heart of the alien formation, where it would be dismissed as a futile final gesture. But instead of a conventional warhead, the platform released a biological agent specifically designed to infiltrate the Kethavar bio-neural network. The virus was elegant in its simplicity. It didn't attack their ships or their biology directly. Instead, it amplified and reflected their own neural activity back through their network, creating an exponentially increasing feedback loop. Vexthol felt the first symptoms as a slight disorientation, as if his thoughts were echoing. Then the idea echo became a roar, and the roar became agony. Every sensation from every ship in the fleet flooded through his consciousness simultaneously. The pain of damaged vessels, the confusion of disrupted targeting systems, the terror of hundreds of Kethavar warriors experiencing their first taste of defeat. "Shut down the network," he commanded, but the words came out as a strangled roar. The bio-neural connections that made them invincible had become a chain dragging them all into madness. Across the Kethavar fleet, similar scenes played out as sophisticated predators reduced to writhing agony by their own enhanced senses. Ships collided as their pilots lost consciousness. Weapons fired randomly as neural chaos overwhelmed targeting systems. The perfect coordination that had dominated the galaxy for 3,000 years became a liability that destroyed them from within. Dr. Webb watched the alien fleet tear itself apart and felt a mixture of triumph and horror. Humanity had won, but at the cost of becoming something they had never wanted to be, effective killers. "It's working," Jenny whispered. "Their entire fleet is disabled." Marcus nodded, but his expression was grim. "Send the data burst immediately. Every frequency, every method we have." "What data burst?" "The complete specifications for our countermeasure. If there are other species out there being hunted by these creatures, they deserve a chance to fight back too." As Earth's message spread across the galaxy at light speed, carrying hope to civilizations that had forgotten what it meant to resist, Commander Park realized that humanity had just announced itself to the universe in the most dramatic way possible. They had proven that even apex predators could become prey. The hunters become the hunted. The signal that changed everything traveled across the galaxy at the speed of light, carrying with it the complete technical specifications for humanity's bio-neural feedback weapon. But more than just technical data, it carried something far more dangerous to the Kethavar: hope. On the oceanic world of Aquinas Prime, the Threnody collective consciousness stirred for the first time in 50 years. The crystalline beings had been among the Kethavar's first victims, their peaceful civilization nearly exterminated by hunting fleets that viewed their bioluminescent forms as exotic delicacies. The survivors had hidden in the deepest ocean trenches, accepting extinction as inevitable, until they received Earth's transmission. Synthesizer, Luxandra emerged from the thermal vents, where the last Threnody had made their home, her crystalline, body pulsing with patterns of communication that hadn't been seen since before the Kethavar came. The message from the distant world called Earth was clear. The hunters could be hunted. Similar awakenings were occurring across the galaxy. On the desert world of Zeph-Kai, the nomadic wanderer tribes who had spent centuries hiding from Kethavar patrols began emerging from their underground cities. In the asteroid fields of the Crimson Nebula, the Mechanical Construct Collective reactivated battle protocols that had been dormant for generations. Each species had something unique to contribute to the growing resistance, but they all shared one crucial element: intimate knowledge of Kethavar hunting patterns gained through centuries of being prey. Vexthol awakened in the medical bay of his flagship to find his world fundamentally changed. The bio-neural feedback attack had left him barely conscious for 6 rotations, and the reports from his surviving crew were uniformly catastrophic. 14 of his 17 ships were completely disabled, their bio-neural networks so damaged they could barely maintain life support. The remaining 3 vessels, including his own Bloodseeker, were operating at less than 30% capacity, but the physical damage paled in comparison to the psychological impact. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Kethavar, had been decisively defeated by their prey. Worse, the humans had broadcast the method of their victory across the entire galaxy. Hunt Commander. Threxnall approached his medical pod with obvious reluctance. We have received multiple transmissions from across the galaxy. The prey species are responding to the human signal. Vexthul forced himself to focus despite the lingering neural trauma. Define responding. 17 different species have confirmed receipt of the human technical data. They are requesting coordination for joint military operations against Kethvar hunting fleets. The implications struck Vexthul like another bio-neural attack. The galaxy's scattered prey species were organizing under human leadership. The careful ecosystem of predator and prey that had sustained Kethvar civilization for millennia was collapsing. Signal the High Hunt Council immediately, he commanded. Priority emergency protocols. The humans have started a rebellion. Dr. Webb stood in the same deep space observatory where humanity's nightmare had begun. But now the screens showed a very different picture. Instead of incoming alien threats, the displays tracked dozens of friendly contacts arriving from across the galaxy. The response to Earth's signal had exceeded even his most optimistic projections. Status report on the incoming ships, he called to Jenny, who had been promoted to Director of Xenological Affairs in the wake of their victory. 43 vessels from 12 different species, she replied. The Threnodi are sending their entire remaining fleet. Apparently their crystalline biotechnology is naturally immune to Kethvar neural attacks. The Zefkai nomads have some kind of stealth technology that makes them invisible to biosensors. And the Construct Collective. Marcus, their ships are basically mobile factories. They can manufacture weapons and equipment in real time. Marcus nodded with satisfaction. Each species brought unique capabilities that complemented humanity's innovation and tactical thinking. Together they might actually have a chance of ending the Kethvar threat permanently. What about the Kethvar response? Any indication they're adapting to our countermeasures? That's where it gets interesting, Jenny said. Long-range sensors show Kethvar fleets throughout the galaxy retreating to defensive positions. For the first time in recorded galactic history, they're running from their prey. Commander Park, now promoted to Admiral in recognition of her leadership during the crisis, reviewed the strategic situation from her new position aboard the recently completed battleship Terran Defiance. The vessel was a testament to human adaptability, built using a combination of human engineering, captured Kethvar biotechnology, and design principles shared by their new alien allies. Admiral, reported Captain Morrison from the tactical station, the Allied fleet is assembled and ready for operation. 47 ships from 13 species, all equipped with bio-neural feedback weapons based on our original design. Lisa studied the holographic display showing their combined fleet. It was the largest multi-species military force in galactic history, unified by a single purpose, ending 3,000 years of Kethvar predation. What's our intelligence on Kethvar fleet dispositions? They've withdrawn to the Maelstrom cluster, their traditional breeding grounds. It's a heavily fortified region with natural bio-neural dampening fields that should protect them from our feedback weapons. Should protect them, Lisa repeated. But Dr. Webb's team has been working on that problem. Marcus entered the bridge at that moment, carrying a datapad and wearing the exhausted expression of someone who had been solving impossible problems for weeks. Admiral, we've completed analysis of the Maelstrom cluster's bio-neural dampening effects. The good news is that we can penetrate their defenses. The bad news is that it will require a coordinated attack using all 47 Allied ships simultaneously. Explain. The dampening field operates by absorbing and dissipating bio-neural energy. But every system has a saturation point. If we can overload the field with enough feedback weapons firing at once, it will collapse and leave the Kethvar ships completely vulnerable. Lisa considered the implications. A coordinated attack by the entire Allied fleet would be impossible to organize in secret. The Kethvar would detect their approach long before they reached firing range. It would be a direct assault against a heavily defended position, with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. How long do we have before the Kethvar adapt their defenses? Unknown, but probably not long. They're undoubtedly working on countermeasures to our feedback weapons. If we're going to do this, it has to be soon. Then we go, Lisa decided. Signal all allied ships. We jump to the Maelstrom cluster in 12 hours. The Kethvar High Hunt Council convened in the sacred spawning grounds at the heart of the Maelstrom cluster, their biomechanical forms arrayed in a ritual circle that had remained unchanged for 3,000 years. But the discussion was anything but traditional. The prey rebellion has spread to 47 species across 17 sectors, reported Prime Hunter Zethkul, his ancient form scarred by countless hunts. Our hunting fleets are in full retreat. For the first time since the Great Awakening, Kethvar ships are fleeing from their food sources. Vexthul, summoned to provide his first-hand account of the human encounter, stood at the center of the circle. His neural trauma was still evident in the way his bioluminescent markings flickered erratically, a constant reminder of humanity's devastating attack. The humans are not prey, he stated bluntly, causing shocked ripples through the assembled hunters. They are apex predators who have been hiding their true nature. They study their enemies, adapt to overcome superior force, and most dangerously, they inspire others to resist. Impossible, growled Hunter Kethmar, whose scarred exoskeleton bore trophies from 100 conquered worlds. No species has ever successfully resisted Kethvar supremacy. These humans are merely an anomaly. An anomaly that destroyed my hunting fleet and united half the galaxy against us, Vexthul replied coldly. An anomaly that has turned our greatest strength, our bio-neural network, into a weapon against us. Prime Hunter Zethkul raised his massive form to its full height, casting shadows across the spawning pools. What do you recommend, Hunt Commander? Vexthul's answer would have been unthinkable just weeks earlier. Withdrawal. Complete evacuation of all hunting territories. The prey species have become too dangerous to hunt. The circle erupted in outraged chittering and roars. The concept of Kethvar retreat was so alien to their culture that many hunters couldn't even process the suggestion. You speak of cowardice, Kethmar snarled. The Kethvar do not flee from food. The Kethvar also do not face extinction from their food, Vexthul countered. But that is exactly what we face if we continue these hunts. The humans have weaponized our own biology against us. They have united species that have been enemies for millennia, and they have demonstrated that our technological supremacy is meaningless against their tactical innovation. Before the argument could escalate further, alarms began blaring throughout the Maelstrom cluster. The bio-neural detection grid had picked up massive fleet movements approaching their position. Incoming contacts, reported the sensor operator, his voice strained with disbelief. 47 vessels of unknown configuration. They're transmitting on all frequencies. The transmission that followed was broadcast simultaneously in the languages of every species present, but the voice was unmistakably human. Admiral Lisa Park's image appeared on the communication screens throughout the Kethvar stronghold. Attention, Kethvar High Hunt Council. I am Admiral Lisa Park of the United Earth Defense Force commanding the Galactic Liberation Fleet. You have 47 ships from 13 species that you have terrorized for millennia. We are here to end 3,000 years of predation. The screen shifted to show the approaching fleet, and even the veteran hunters of the Council felt a chill of recognition. These weren't the primitive, terrified prey they had grown accustomed to hunting. These were warships, built specifically to kill Kethvar. Your bio-neural dampening field will not protect you, Admiral Park continued. We have analyzed its operational parameters and developed countermeasures. You have one opportunity to surrender and face judgment for your crimes. Refuse, and we will demonstrate that the hunters have become the hunted. Prime Hunter Zethkul silenced the communication. Feed and turned to his council. Signal all defense platforms. Prepare the spawning ground shield generators. If these prey species wish to challenge us in our own territory, we shall remind them why the Kethvar have ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia. But Vexthul was studying the tactical displays with growing dread. The approaching fleet wasn't arranged in any formation he recognized from 3,000 years of military doctrine. Instead, the ships were positioned in a precise geometric pattern that seemed designed to generate maximum bio-neural interference. Prime Hunter, he said, urgently, the human fleet formation suggests they understand our defensive systems better than we do. I recommend immediate evacuation of non-essential personnel. The spawning grounds have never been breached, Zethkul replied with absolute certainty. Our ancestors built these defenses to withstand any conceivable attack. Our ancestors never faced an enemy that could turn our own biology against us, Vexthul warned. His words proved prophetic. The Allied fleet reached optimal firing position and began transmitting simultaneously. 47 bioneural feedback weapons, each calibrated to a different frequency, bombarded the Maelstrom cluster's defensive field from multiple angles. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The bioneural dampening field, designed to absorb and dissipate energy attacks, was overwhelmed by the sheer volume and complexity of the feedback signals. Instead of protecting the Kethvar installations, the field began amplifying the interference, creating a resonance cascade that spread throughout the entire cluster. Vexthul felt the familiar agony of neural feedback, but this time it was magnified 100-fold by the cluster's own defensive systems. Around him, the High Hunt Council writhed in pain as their bioneural implants overloaded. The spawning pools themselves began to boil as the organic infrastructure succumbed to the cascading system failure. "Evacuation!" Zethkul roared through the pain. All ships, immediate withdrawal. But the Kethvar fleet was in no condition to mount an organized retreat. Ships collided in their haste to escape the neural storm. Others simply shut down as their bioneural systems crashed completely. The organized evacuation became a panicked rout as the galaxy's apex predators fled from their own stronghold. Dr. Webb watched the Kethvar retreat from his position aboard the Terran Defiance, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and sympathy. The bioneural feedback attack had been more effective than even his most optimistic projections, but seeing the once mighty hunters reduced to panicked refugees was somehow disturbing. Sensor sweep shows 17 Kethvar vessels successfully escaped, reported the tactical officer. The remainder are disabled or destroyed. The Maelstrom cluster is completely under Allied control. Admiral Park nodded grimly. Signal the fleet. Begin search and rescue operations for any survivors. And Dr. Webb, I want a complete analysis of their spawning facilities. If we're going to end this threat permanently, we need to understand their reproductive cycle. The analysis of the Kethvar spawning grounds revealed the final piece of the puzzle that had made their civilization so dangerous. The pools contained thousands of embryonic Kethvar in various stages of development, each one genetically programmed for specific roles in their hunting society. But more importantly, the genetic templates showed clear signs of artificial enhancement. They're not a naturally evolved species, Marcus explained to the Allied command staff. The Kethvar have been artificially enhancing themselves for millennia, selecting for aggression, predatory instincts, and bioneural connectivity. They've literally bred themselves to be the perfect hunters. Which explains why they've never developed beyond hunting, observed synthesizer Luxandra of the Threnody. Their entire civilization is built around a single purpose: consuming other species. Admiral Park studied the genetic data with the clinical detachment of a military strategist. Can their genetic programming be reversed? Theoretically, Marcus replied, but it would require fundamental changes to their bioneural structure. We're talking about rewriting their entire species at the genetic level. Do it, she ordered, but make it voluntary. Any Kethvar who wants to remain unchanged can be relocated to unpopulated worlds where they can't threaten other species. The rest get the opportunity to become something other than predators. The offer of genetic rehabilitation was transmitted to the scattered Kethvar fleets across the galaxy, along with a simple ultimatum: evolve or be isolated. To everyone's surprise, nearly half the Kethvar accepted the opportunity to change. Vexthul was among the first to volunteer for the genetic modification process. As he lay in the medical bay of a Threnody healing ship, he reflected on how completely his understanding of the universe had changed. The humans had done more than defeat the Kethvar. They had offered them redemption. The modifications will eliminate your predatory aggression and reduce your bioneural dependency, explained Dr. Chen, who had volunteered to oversee the rehabilitation process. You'll retain your intelligence and memories, but you'll no longer feel the compulsion to hunt other species. And in return, Vexthul asked, you help us establish a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than predation. Your knowledge of the galaxy's species and civilizations would be invaluable for building lasting peace. Vexthul considered the offer. For 3,000 years, the Kethvar had believed that strength meant domination, that evolution meant becoming more effective predators. But the humans had demonstrated a different kind of strength, the ability to unite enemies, to turn weaknesses into advantages, and to offer mercy even to those who had shown none. I accept, he said simply. 6 months after the Battle of the Maelstrom Cluster, the galaxy was a fundamentally different place. The Galactic Liberation Fleet had evolved into the Galactic Cooperation Council, with representatives from over 100 species working together to establish new trade routes, share technology, and prevent future conflicts. Earth had become the unofficial capital of this new galactic civilization, not through conquest but through the recognition that humans possessed a unique talent for bringing diverse species together. The Deep Space Observatory, where Dr. Webb had first detected the Kethvar, had been expanded into the Galactic Communication Center, monitoring signals from across the galaxy and facilitating peaceful contact between species. Admiral Park, now serving as the first Director General of the Galactic Cooperation Council, stood in her office overlooking Earth's orbital shipyards, where vessels from dozens of species worked together on joint construction projects. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity's greatest military victory had led to their greatest diplomatic achievement. Admiral, Dr. Webb entered her office carrying his latest report. We've completed the analysis of the galactic communication networks. The signal we broadcast during the Kethvar crisis has been received by over 3,000 different species. 47 have already expressed interest in joining the Cooperation Council. Lisa nodded with satisfaction. What about the remaining Kethvar holdouts? Isolated on 12 unpopulated worlds in the Outer Rim, they're maintaining their traditional lifestyle but have no access to space travel. The rehabilitation program has been successful for 68% of their species. The reformed Kethvar are actually proving quite valuable as scouts and explorers. Their enhanced senses and knowledge of remote worlds have led to the discovery of 17 new habitable planets. And Vexthul, leading the first joint exploration mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. Apparently, the idea of exploring unknown territory appeals to his reformed predatory instincts. He's turned hunting into scientific discovery. Lisa smiled. The transformation of the galaxy's most feared predator into an explorer and peacekeeper was perhaps the most satisfying outcome of the entire conflict. As she watched ships from a dozen different species working together in Earth's orbital space, Lisa reflected on how a single desperate signal had changed everything. Humanity's call for help had awakened a galaxy of sleeping giants, united them against a common threat, and ultimately led to the most ambitious cooperative venture in galactic history. The Kethvar had seen humans as prey, but they had fundamentally misunderstood what it meant to be human. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to inspire others to be better than they were, to find common ground between enemies, and to believe that even the most hopeless situations could be overcome through cooperation and determination. The signal that changed everything hadn't just saved Earth from the Kethvar. It had announced to the galaxy that a new kind of civilization was possible, one based on mutual respect rather than dominance, on cooperation rather than competition, and on the revolutionary idea that former enemies could become allies. In the end, the galaxy's greatest predators had become prey to something far more powerful than any weapon: hope for a better future. And in learning to hunt hope instead of other species, they had discovered that the greatest victories were won not by destroying enemies but by transforming them into friends. The humans had proven that even in a galaxy full of predators, the most dangerous species of all was one that refused to accept that might made right, that refused to abandon their compassion even in the face of extinction, and that possessed the audacity to believe that they could make the universe a better place simply by trying. They thought humans were prey. They discovered that humans were the universe's immune system, designed to fight the infection of hopelessness wherever it appeared. And now, thanks to one desperate signal broadcast into the darkness, that immunity was spreading across the galaxy, one species at a time.